The Naruto community often jokes about Naruto using talk no jutsu whenever an enemy is too powerful for him. Most instances, he only really reaches his enemy after defeating or stalemating them. This was the case for Gaara, Obito, and Nagato. It's funny, but it's not always the most accurate meme, except for one instance. Naruto's persistence saved his life when he first fought Sasuke in the Valley of the End. When Sasuke and Naruto first started fighting, Sasuke was intent on killing Naruto in order to obtain the Mangekyo Sharingan. He punctured his lung trying to kill him, and then proceeded to try to choke him to death. Kurama saved Naruto by aiding him with his chakra, and this allowed Naruto to continue to try to get through to Sasuke. After a heart-to-heart, he partially reached Sasuke in a way that saved his life shortly after. Sasuke won the fight and was given the opportunity to kill Naruto in order to obtain the Mangekyo Sharingan. He didn't take this opportunity because of Naruto's pleading. So what would have happened had Naruto not indirectly talked his way out of death? In this scenario, we'll say that Sasuke doesn't give Naruto the time to talk to him. He's simply too committed to killing him in order to stop and listen. This time when Sasuke is standing over Naruto, he will reluctantly kill him in order to obtain the power he needs to defeat Itachi. He doesn't have the time or chakra to see if Itachi was lying, so he decides to go straight to Orochimaru's hideout. Shortly after Sasuke leaves, Kakashi arrives and is absolutely crushed. Seeing Naruto's neck slit makes him feel like a failure to his sensei, the village, and himself. The news of Naruto's death is devastating to all that knew him. Tsunade's necklace will have claimed a third life, and this loss makes Tsunade feel accountable. Her will of fire doesn't waver though. Sakura will never love Sasuke again, and even wants to avenge Naruto at this point. This motivates her to train with Tsunade in order to avenge Naruto. Jiraiya becomes even more pessimistic about the shinobi world, and goes on to try to find the next child of prophecy. He never finds the chosen one though. Shikamaru feels accountable for the loss, but eventually he overcomes this. All in all, the Leaf Village never forgives Sasuke for killing their comrade in the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. The death of the Nine-Tails ripples through the entire shinobi world. It takes less than a year for a tailed beast to reincarnate. The Three-Tailed died along with Rin when Obito was 13, and Yagura was the Three-Tails Jinchuriki by the time Obito was 14. This gives everyone interested a chance to capture Kurama. The Akatsuki are interested, but ultimately don't pursue him. They don't have enough money yet, and don't have anywhere to put Kurama since he has to be sealed last. Both A and Onuki are opportunistic and ally with each other in order to gang up on the vulnerable Leaf. The Mist are neutral like May prefers, and the Sand aid their ally in the Leaf. They'll all fight until one village captures the tailed beast. Oblivious to the hornet's nest he just stepped on, Sasuke attempts to activate his Mangekyo Sharingan in a mirror. If it doesn't activate, then the pain from believing Itachi lied to him would be great enough to awaken it. If it does activate, then it does activate. Sasuke attempts to use his Mangekyo Sharingan during training with Orochimaru, and Orochimaru educates him on his ability. He tells him that using it degrades your vision until you're fully blind. Orochimaru doesn't want Sasuke to ever use it, so when he has Sasuke's eyes, he won't be near blind. He can't stop Sasuke though, and instead tells him to use it only when necessary. Sasuke decides to sacrifice some of his sight in order for his Mangekyo to fully develop to fight Itachi. The Fourth Great Shinobi War rages on. The Leaf and the Sand were left vulnerable after their battle during the Chunin exams, and it shows. Considering that the Three-Tails was able to be captured by the Mist right after Rin died, I expect the same for the Leaf. Kurama spawns somewhere in the Land of Fire, and the Leaf creates a new host. The Stones and Cloud's effort weren't fast enough to obtain Kurama. Support for the war reigns, and both the Leaf and the Sand give up a little land in order to bring a truce. For the next 2 years, the Leaf and Sand attempt to rebuild their villages. 2 years pass, and the Akatsuki decides to make their move. Deidara captures Gaara, and Team Kakashi is sent to aid the Sand village. A new member named Sai has taken Sasuke's place. Danzo hopes that Team Kakashi will go for a revenge mission one day, so that Sai can personally eliminate Sasuke. Team Kakashi makes it to the Sand, and Sakura saves Kankura's life. She makes an antidote, and after that, Team 7 along with Chiyo pursue the Akatsuki. Team Guy joins the pursuit, and meets them at the entrance to the Akatsuki's hideout. Team Guy gets preoccupied fighting their own clones, and the rest of the team confronts Sasori and Deidara. There's no Nine-Tails Jinchuriki to capture, so there is no sense in splitting up for the artist duo. So how does this Akatsuki duo do against Team 7 and Chiyo? We know how Chiyo and Sakura match up against Sasori, but what about the other three? Deidara is low on clay, and Sai can get in the air to contest his aerial superiority. Kakashi also has Kamui, but I don't see that being used here unless it's to save his life. He did use it against Deidara, but that's because he had all the time in the world to prep it. He never used it against Kakuzu, and he only used it to save his life against pain. I could see him using it to prevent an explosion, but that's it. As for Deidara, he's low on clay, but we don't really know how low. He used some C1 attacks, but we never saw him fully run out. I imagine he's got a few C1 and C2 left, but he has to be careful here. I do expect him to use his explosions to block the exit, as that would help the artist do here. I also expect Deidara to combo with Sasori as a diversion, here in order to detonate a C2. Kakashi would be forced to use Kamui to save whoever he targets, and this would zap most of his chakra up. Sai can pester Deidara, but I see Sasori having his back here with the Iron Sand. Deidara can help him too by putting C1 explosives where their opponents dodge Sasori's attacks. I'm not super confident with my pick here, but I see the artist duo winning here. Kakashi's going to use up too much chakra, and Sai isn't a big factor. Deidara and Sasori's moveset paired together is too much, even if Deidara is limited here. The Leaf loses its 2 remaining Team 7 members and an Anbu Black Ops member. The Sand loses his Kazekage in embarrassing fashion, and Tamaru is named the new Kazekage. The Ikachi is in a good position for world domination, but Sasori has a score to settle. Kakuzu sews back on Deidara's crushed arm, and the duo heads to meet Kabuto at the Tenchi Bridge. Kabuto betrays Sasori, and a battle is initiated. Sasori tells Deidara to stay out of this because this is a personal grudge. I've actually talked about Sasori versus Orochimaru in a previous video, and I believe it's a close matchup. If you want to see details, go to that video, but in this scenario, Deidara will help whenever necessary. Whenever Orochimaru is about to win, Deidara can hop in and save Sasori with an explosion, really. So the result of this fight is Kabuto and Orochimaru die, leaving Sasuke alone and ready to pursue Itachi. Before that happens, the Leaf decides to suppress the Akatsuki. Everything more or less stays the same until Team 10 sets out to avenge Asuma. Tsunade and Shikamaru argue at the gates of the Leaf. Tsunade orders them to wait until noon for her to find them a Jonin leader to guide them. Team 10 reluctantly complies. The best Jonin at the moment is Guy, and she knows that he battled Kisame while pursuing Gaara. She takes the gamble here and orders Guy to take Team 10 out on this mission. This fight actually plays out about the same until Shikamaru separates Hidan from Kakuzu. From there, Guy, Kakuzu one-on-one, and it's a stalemate. He can't do anything to the mask, but Guy's agility and taijutsu is far better than Kakashi's. This allows him to evade getting pinned until Shikamaru fools Hidan into cursing Kakuzu. Kakuzu still has 3 hearts remaining at this point, so we won't get into his defensive form quite yet. At this point, Guy will realize that he's fighting a losing battle, and he needs to use gates. He is fighting an Akatsuki member after all. He started with 6 against Kisame, so he'll start with that here as well. It's arguable that Kakuzu can outlast the 6 gates, but if that's the case, Guy will upgrade to 7. He did this in Kisame's last fight, so I expect the same here. We know that a Rasen Shuriken can defeat Kakuzu, but a Hiradora is arguably stronger than that Rasen Shuriken. Looking at size comparisons, Naruto threw a Rasen Shuriken at Kurama, and this rivaled him in size. Guy's Hiradora rivaled the Turtle Island in size, and the Turtle Island made the 8-tails look tiny. Of course, the Rasen Shuriken attacks on the cellular level, which is really what damaged Kakuzu. It's hard to definitively compare the two, but considering that Hiradora defeated Kisame, I see it defeating Kakuzu. Kisame's strength and durability exceeds Kakuzu's, and I shouldn't have to explain why. Either way, Kakuzu is at best is heavily damaged from this, and Guy finishes him off with taijutsu. Shikamaru defeats Hidan, and with this, the Leaf takes their first victory against the Akatsuki. For now, they wait, and in the meantime, Sasuke pursues Itachi with Heavy. He makes his way to the Uchiha hideout in order to avenge his clan. His Mangekyo will have fully developed, and he plans on taking Itachi's eyes after becoming victorious. This fight has a few changes. Genjutsu won't work on Sasuke, and the fight will eventually evolve into a Susanoo versus Susanoo fight. Itachi has a superior shield and weapon, so he'll eventually wear down Sasuke's Susanoo into nothing. He still has his heart attack though, and he pokes Sasuke. Obito collects Sasuke and tells him the truth. He decides to work with the Akatsuki, but he's currently not of much use with how blind he has become. Obito's transplant Itachi's eyes into Sasuke's, and now he has to wait for him to heal in order to be useful. Since he can't use Taka, Obito sends Deidara and Sasori to capture the 8-tails. This is actually a close matchup in my opinion. First thing I need to say is that Sasori will use poison here. Chiyo manufactured an antidote for Hanzo's poison, and she attempted one for Sasori's. It should be common for puppet masters to craft antidotes, and since it's his poison, he'll know how to make one. B is pretty good counters for both of them, however. If Sakura and Chiyo can, for the most part, evade Sasori's attacks, then B certainly can. He showed out against Sasuke in close quarters combat, who's much better than Sakura in that area. It's going to be hard for him to touch Sasori even in version 2. Version 2, B is physically stronger than Sakura, but not even she could dent it. We've also seen Gaara's can contain C3, but this was with more sand at his disposal. He's not breaking Sasori's defense, but neither is Sasori piercing B's skin. Orochimaru couldn't do it against a 4-tailed Naruto with a sharper weapon, so that's not happening here. He can also tank through Deidara C2s pretty well, considering Sasuke could do so with his curse mark decently. This isn't a winning position for him though, so he's going to have to transform into the 8-tails. This is not going to bode well for him though. He'll barrage B with small weapons covered in poison. Sasori doesn't reveal he uses poison in battle until he's poisoned his opponent, so this is why B is oblivious. The Eight Tails will instinctively block these attacks, and the poison will add up. Even if these attacks don't penetrate, his Iron Sand can, and that could poison B pretty bad. By the time B is ready to use a tailed beast bomb, the poison will take a noticeable effect. At this point, it'll be too late, and the Akatsuki will have possession of their 8th tailed beast. This leaves the 9 tailed Jinchuriki left, who will be in Konoha. Pain begins his assault on the leaf, and quickly finds out that the 9 tailed Jinchuriki is being protected within the village at the moment. Guy is on a mission, and the leaf has lost crucial pieces like Naruto, Jiraiya, and Kakashi. Danzo cowardly allows Tsunade to be the last defender of the leaf village. She won't get her chance though, as after Pain effortlessly captures the last Jinchuriki, he turns the leaf village into a crater. Tsunade enters a coma healing the village, and Pain makes his way towards the Akatsuki hideout. There's no trail left to follow, so Pain makes it there unopposed. Nagato, Pain, and Konan arrive to the hideout with one man standing in the way. His fellow disciple of Madara's will has a wildly different plan for world peace using the Ten Tails. Obito can't allow Nagato to awaken the Ten Tails, and decides he will claim the Rinnegan for himself in order to initiate the Moon Eye plan. Nagato will instruct Konan to get him and the Jinchuriki away from the battlefield, since Nagato is vulnerable without the ability to walk. This fight right here will determine the fate of the Shinobi world. It is as impactful as Hashirama and Madara's final fight. So who ends up creating their own method of world peace after this fight? Just like any other fight with Obito, it comes down to how well the opponent counters Kamui. Pain does have the benefit of having 6 bodies to cover each other when they are getting sucked into Obito's eye. Konan knew how Kamui worked, so Nagato should as well. Anytime Obito attempts to use Kamui on a path, the Diva Path can almighty push him, since he's tangible. He can push Obito hard enough that 5 seconds will pass and he can have it ready once again. That's his main defense against Obito, but his only offense is the human path. The human path has to make physical contact to begin ripping out his soul, so if he can manage to create contact, then he has a chance. Nagato hasn't shown that he's intelligent enough to deceive Obito into letting the human path touch him. So really as time goes on, Obito won't make any progress and instead decide to fight Nagato instead. He can warp away, but Nagato will be suspecting a surprise attack. He can again use Almighty Push to repel him when need be, and he'd have Konan help for his real body. Kamui won't initially work against an Almighty Push because external forces are needed to activate it. Pain uses gravitational forces, which Obito can't use Kamui for really. This means that Obito can't charge him with Kamui activated, because no physical object would activate it until he crashed with something after being pushed. There's just no way for the human path to maintain contact for long enough to rip out Obito's soul. Minato had to use Flying Raijin level 2 to beat Obito's reaction time, and I'm positive that Pain does not have the speed. He also doesn't have the regenerative abilities that Obito does. If Nagato pressured him, it's going to require chakra to do so, and in an endurance battle, Obito wins. Hashirama cells are regenerative, and we know that he can use Kamui for 5 minutes straight. Nagato's Rinnegan allows him to make his chakra output minimal, but he's not going to be able to regenerate. He also doesn't have Izanagi like Obito. After a battle that lasts over a day, Obito is victorious. His first course of action is to transplant the Rinnegan into one of his eyes. This allows him to control the Geto statue and seal the final tail beast. He must let the Akatsuki know what had happened before the transplant though. He tells them individually and explains that he's Madara Uchiha. He says that Pain betrayed him, but it's not like it matters and they should prepare to steal the Nine Tails soon. The remaining 3 pawns don't care that much either way and agree to get ready. Once Obito's eye is healed, the sealing of the Nine Tails begins. It completes the Geto statue, and the Geto statue turns into the Ten Tails. Obito isn't currently able to become the Ten Tails host due to the curse sealed Madara set on his heart. He also can't directly remove it himself, so he has to get creative. He teleports to the cloud and uses Genjutsu on a Jonin. This convinces them to stab him in the heart with the lightning-amped blade, which would destroy his curse shield. He teleports right back and becomes a toast for the Ten Tails. He doesn't trust Black Zetsu, so he stops following orders and just creates the Divine Tree in order to cast the Infinite Drain. Sasuke is traveling to destroy the leaf when the Divine Tree blooms, and Obito's lifelong goal is finally complete. Now that he's done, he doesn't have to trust Zetsu anymore. He decides to kill him because he knows that he might have other motives than Obito does, since he didn't want Obito to become the Ten Tails host. After Zetsu is killed, Obito is the last living being alive in the world. He's convinced that he's done the right thing and doesn't spend much time left alive. He commits suicide, never knowing that everyone he believes he's saved ends up dying and becoming a white Zetsu. Eventually the tailed beasts reincarnate, but only for a decade or so. Momoshiki and Kinshiki capture them and obtain all the chakra of those caught in the Infinite Dream. So this was a sad what if. Naruto died and created a downhill slope for the Leaf and gave the Akatsuki enough leverage to fully carry out their plan. Had Naruto not run his mouth against Sasuke, this would have been the result in my opinion. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future. Comment something if you have something to say. And thank y'all for watching, and I guess I'll see y'all next time.